Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. My name is Ken Edwards. I'm with the Midwest Coalition of Labor. Sitting to my left today is Ed Maher with the International Union of Operating Engineers. Good morning, Ed.
What's happening, Ken?
Welcome back.
Why, thank you.
I know you were on vacazione, if you will.
I know. I took the not laboring on Labor Day to a new level and just left the country.
Good for you.
It was wonderful, and thank you to Phil for filling in for me last week. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks always, Phil. Where'd you go? You went to Mexico?
Yeah, we went to a little place called Mayacoba in Mexico.
How was it?
I love it. It was great. There was nobody there. Apparently, when everybody goes back to school, everyone stops going to Mexico, so there was absolutely nobody there.
That's a kind of a good idea, right?
It's a great idea.
Is it cheaper?
No, I mean, I don't think so. It is the peak of hurricane season also. So we just missed that one hurricane that hit Florida as a tropical storm, and then I think there's something else coming. So you really have to roll the dice, but we fell into a really lucky pocket with good weather.
Florida, speaking of Florida, didn't our great friend Governor Goofy, Governor Goofy, didn't he just turn down a bunch of money for the green energy bill?
Yes. So, after the tropical storm kind of laid waste to the Gulf Coast to sort of start, the federal government got FEMA mobilized and put everything in place early to make sure that the residents of Florida would be taken care of. And Goofy, Governor Ron DeSantis, who's just tearing up the polls with, I don't know, like 4% or something, he refused to meet with or address or acknowledge the president coming down to take a tour and all that kind of stuff. But a Republican senator did meet with the president and thanked him for taking care of all that stuff, which is the big thing to do in a time of crisis. But just to show what a real mensch he is. He also refused $350 million of federal funding that was supposed to go to renewable energy because, of course, he sees renewable energy as some kind of a woke thing. But look at it like this. As I always say, the people of Florida, there are people in Florida who need jobs.
Of course.
And there is a need for renewable energy that's expanding all over the country. It's not, replacing. It's just adding capacity. But this is a third of $1 billion, and he's just like, nope, I don't like you. So people of Florida, all of our Florida listeners, I know there are very many, hold this guy to account because he's being kind of a fool.
You got to be a real narcissist to turn down that kind of federal free money, which, by the way, is paid for, to be blunt with you, from donor states, which Florida, I don't believe, is a donor state, if you will. I think they take more than they actually give.
I don't know.
In federal tax dollars.
I know Illinois is certainly a donor state.
Oh, for sure. And when you're, I don't care what unemployment is. If unemployment was 1%, you should take it, give jobs. And by the way, those jobs, if it's federal money, come with prevailing wage. Right? Federal prevailing wage, which you and I have talked about ad nauseum, meaning a wage that's set by the government.
That sounds like some woke nonsense, Ken. That's woke. Prevailing wage is woke.
Yeah, making a lot of money is too woke. So smart move, Governor DeSantis. But I will tell you this: if you're listening, Joe Biden, which I know you are, send that money to the Midwest. We'll take it. We'll take every penny of it.
Yeah.
Right.
If states are going to send immigrants to other states, why doesn't the federal government send their money to the Midwest? I think so.
Good point. So in other news, I just wanted to touch on this. I know we have followed the dancers in Los Angeles that organized the first union at a strip club, and they were on strike for 17 months. I didn't realize how long it was. This is like it has gone on for quite some time. They went back to work, I want to say a week or two ago, and they didn't. It was. I'm not 100% sure what the circumstances are because I don't believe they went back with an actual contract, but they must have cut some sort of deal, and they went back to work. And what do you think that the strip club did? Like the very first thing that the strip club did?
I mean, I'm going to go with an easy answer. I'm going to guess fired some.
No, I don't know. No, I don't know if they did or didn't. Either way, they went back to work, and the strip club normally charges $10 to get in. That day they charged $40 to get in. The strippers, obviously
dancers,
exotic dancers,
entertainers,
workers.
Yes,
let's call them workers.
Exactly.
Yeah, they get paid, obviously a base rate, but they also get tips,
Right.
in cash, right? Have you ever seen that? People give cash. It is what it is.
I have never seen that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you haven't. So the strip club decided for that evening to go cashless.
That's outrageous.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. So
You get
it's
like a
hey,
Venmo, like a QR code stuck on your arm or something.
I have no idea. All I'm saying is that you might want to secure a contract before you go in those kind of working conditions. And to the club, once again, shame on you. What are you gonna do? Like you got to bust these women's chops, but I'm going to go cashless. I'm going to charge more to get in, and I'm going to make your life miserable. Sure, come on back to work, but I'm going to make it so horrible for you that you quit. Which, by the way, there's a legal term for that. It's called constructive discharge, where they make your job so miserable that you quit. And if you can prove it, you can actually get unemployment for that.
Really?
So yeah. So anyway, those are two things that the DeSantis thing, like you said, and this that struck my mind this week.
Well, the dancers, I think there was another club, and I can't even remember if it was in California, but there was a second club that was trying to join in under the same union with them. I just seen something about it, and I think they're kind of early on in the process. But yeah, I mean, everybody deserves a union, and as I always say, there's dignity in every single job.
Of course there is.
And I mean, leave the entertainers alone.
Yeah, no kidding. Listen, we got to take a quick break. We have a great show for you today. We have Karen Kent, who is the leader of Unite Here Local 1 here in Chicago. They have done just a monster job lately, and she's going to talk about some of the things that they've achieved, and then also something that was, kind of mind-boggling that happened over Labor Day weekend. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other things with her, and then we have a bunch of things to talk about regarding the Department of Labor and child labor law, the Death Star bill,
right.
Just a ton of cool stuff. So
all the things that we say are terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe people in Washington are listening to the show because they're figuring it out.
Turns out that we're right usually, right?
Yeah, we're like the Nostradamus of child labor laws.
Nostradamus is not a word.
It's a plural of Nostradamus.
There's two Nostradamuses?
Now there are.
Okay. Listen, we will be right back here on the Workers' Mic, 720 WGN.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Workers' Mic right here on WGN 720. And it's Ed Maher. I'm here with Ken Edwards. And we are very, very, very pleased to be joined with a very special guest, and that is Karen Kent, the president of Unite Here Local 1.
Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Proud to be here.
Yeah, it's super, super cool what you're doing lately. You have been all over the news.
That's for sure. And Unite Here, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's the hotel employees and restaurant employees, along with many, many other workers in the city of Chicago. And first, tell us a little bit about Unite Here Local 1. How large is it? How many members do you have in Chicago?
About 14,000 in Chicago and Northwest Indiana. We represent concession workers at the airports, at some of the ballparks, food service workers, airport workers, hotels, and casinos also.
Awesome. And that's post-pandemic. You had mentioned earlier that pre-pandemic it was higher, right?
That's right.
Did people get laid off?
A lot of people got laid off, and the industry contracted in places where they could.
Karen, do you see that coming back at all?
Well, that's our hope. We just won daily cleaning of guest rooms back in our contract, so we expect that will bring back some of our housekeepers.
We just hope that Taylor
awesome.
Swift will never stop touring.
That's
That's a good point. Maybe we can build some more hotels.
Right.
Oh, we're building a casino, right? That's going to be hundreds of jobs for you guys, right?
No, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Super cool.
It's super cool. Labor was great,
Yeah.
Going into that. We've just had great support from the whole labor movement. So
let's
awesome
talk.
about that.
Ed and I have been talking about your union, and let's do some quick background, right? So you're the president of Unite Here Local 1 here in Chicago, right?
Correct.
And nationwide, you said there's about 250,000 members, give or take?
Give or take.
Okay, fair enough. And your background has been with Unite Here for a long time, right?
For a long time, since the 90s. And I was a server and a bartender before getting into this. California and Massachusetts back east.
Did you make money?
Made Great bank. It was hard to leave, actually.
I don't blame you. And then you got sucked into the union world, right?
That's right. That's
Spirit
right.
of an
That's
organizer.
So
right.
you were I didn't know that about you, quite frankly. So you actually were in the industry, and then now you're representing the industry.
That's right.
That's badass. And so you bounced around
Thank
the country,
you.
right?
Yeah.
And now you're in Chicago. And how long have you been here?
This time about 20-something years, since 2000, and I was here a couple of times before, and,
And how long have you been president of Unite here?
since 2013, so about 10 years.
Happy anniversary.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
wow.
Thank you.
Third term? Is that what you guys 3-year terms?
Yes.
Excellent. When are you up again?
25, I guess. 24.
25?
24, 25. I better make a note of that.
She's got
It was
her
in
priorities.
21.
Yeah, you know what? She's too busy organizing
And winning
negotiating.
elections.
Yeah. What you got to do is you got to win them closer to your election.
That's right.
No,
it will
this-
be in 24, I think.
Well, okay, listen, I'm voting for you, all right?
Thank
Just
you.
for the record.
Thank you.
Right, Ed, you're going to vote?
You got my vote.
All right.
I've known you for a long time, Karen, and you've got the spirit of an organizer, and it comes across, just in meeting you and talking to you for a few minutes. So your members are very, very lucky to have you.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Thanks.
and listen, I think that Ed and I have talked about this, like, how come they're not spiking the ball? Like if what you have accomplished was the building trades, we'd be spiking the ball anywhere
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah.
right? We'd be rubbing it in the employer's face, like, ha ha ha, And we were joking about what you
That's
did.
just
with,
Ken.
Well, that too. But what you did at the United Center was a big deal, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And we talked
Huge.
about that on the air, and listen, a lot of our members go to United Center, right? And they're the ones buying
Yeah.
the expensive beer, and we're talking about paying all this money for beer and tickets, and everybody's making money except for the concession workers. And what'd you do? You struck them, right?
Yeah, we had a day strike over there, and we heard the Workers' Mic program. By the way, we heard you guys mention the United Center, so shout out to you guys. That
Thanks.
was fabulous.
Yeah.
And we won health care for more folks. Actually, expanded the way that people get their health care. So some of the hours accumulate, much like what happens in the trades.
Yep.
Right? You work one location or another location.
Right.
Sure.
Then you can sort of cobble together your health care.
Bank your hours.
Bank your hours.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
And so they settled, and you guys did fantastic. Now fast forward, and over Labor Day weekend, and I get this text, from Karen. She's like, "Well, this is happening," and I see this like blurb about the Kinzie Hotel. I'm like, "You got to be joking me! Labor Day? Like, it's
What
just
better day to do it?
Sunday night?" And I may or may not have been hammered drunk when I got the text. So just for the
But
record,
you answered the call.
I will
which-
always answer your call. Period. The end. So tell us about what happened with the Kinzie Hotel. And back up, if you don't mind. You hotel workers, right? Your bread and butter, kind of here in Chicagoland. How many hotels you guys represent?
Probably about over 50 and 30 over 34 expired on August 31st. Their
Got it.
contracts expired August 31st. There's about 20-something others that expire at various times that aren't on the cycle yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many were open as of a couple of days ago?
3.
3 out of all of them. Everybody else was closed.
Everybody else was closed,
Okay.
yeah.
And Kinzie was one of them.
And Kinzie was one of them, and 31 had settled prior to expiration with a great agreement,
Yeah.
3-year agreement, moves us way ahead.
And the DNC is coming here, and by the way, it's a smart move on their part to have labor peace, right?
That's for sure.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that seems like kind of a no-brainer, and kudos to you for getting that done. So all the big guys settle, and now there's a couple left, and Kinzie's one of them. And then tell us what happened.
Well, they locked us out illegally.
Unbelievable.
Legal lockout. Unbelievable heading into Labor Day, which is sort of, I don't know, if you were going to do something on Labor Day, not the way that I would choose
Yeah,
to.
hey, Kinzie Hotel, you want to talk about tone deaf? Lock people out on Labor Day in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, a bad move.
Well,
like,
we saw what happened.
Really bad move, right?
Right.
And so what did you guys do?
Moved into action. We had demonstrations, but Labor Day had a bunch of labor leaders, a couple of politicians that came, rallied at the Kinzie Hotel. It was a big deal. It was
And how many
I saw
workers are there,
pictures,
by the
yeah.
way? Yes. How many members do you have at the Kinzie Hotel?
23.
Okay, so 23 members, and there were like hundreds of people out there rallying, and politicians and labor leaders, et cetera. And
Yeah.
for those listening out there, this is Chicago labor, right?
Yes.
This is what happens.
It's so Chicago labor.
Right?
Yes.
So
in
Chicago
the
labor.
drop of a dime, Karen makes the call, and a shout out to your comms director, Sarah Lyons, who was also
Awesome.
obviously involved, and voila, everybody's there. And what happens after that?
I mean, well, let me just say that Tim Dre, Bob Ryder, Bill Neesman, Greg Kelly, Corliss King, Pat Devaney, Don Villar, and I think I'm missing one. Anyways, Rashonda Williams from our crew came. Father Clee Kiley was there. And anyways, it was just fabulous. Mike Rodriguez from City Council and Senator Cervantes came also.
Wow.
Was in
That's
the
awesome.
district. So anyways, we had this great rally. A lot of press, as you identified. Sarah just communicated, reached out to so many people. Our members were freaking ready to, just like, let me at them.
Yeah,
And,
I'm sure.
and it was great. Workers felt tremendously supported, but we
So you guys filed an unfair labor practice charge, and then what happened? And by the way, you couldn't file it until Tuesday, I'm assuming, because the board is closed on Monday.
That's right.
Okay, so
yeah.
Tuesday you file the unfair labor practice charge,
Tuesday, file the charge.
and basically saying that the hotel illegally locked out their workers, and you have bargaining when?
We had bargaining on Thursday night.
Okay.
And late Thursday night, we reached an agreement for the
A total agreement.
total, not to the ULP
Got it.
Okay.
unresolved still.
Wow.
Oh, is that right?
Nice
Yeah.
move.
Not yet resolved.
Interesting.
Well, we have a proposal, and
Yeah.
they need to respond to it, and we're
But
not
did
prepared.
they bring those folks back to work?
Yes, the folks were on the schedule starting Friday.
Okay.
That's great news.
That's-
Did you
work.
reach a contract?
Yes,
Ah.
which is ratifying today.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, so super cool. So, do we have time, Ed, to talk about
Yeah.
some of the details of the
Yeah,
contract?
absolutely.
So tell us,
What
our
were the-
listeners don't know, like, how much does somebody at the Kinzie Hotel or any of the other 31 hotels, like, what do they make?
Well, with this contract, housekeepers and anybody who was below 23.76 are going to go up to $25 an hour. So people will be making housekeepers will be making $25 an hour.
Awesome.
And the non-tipped classifications,
Mm-hmm.
if they were making more, then they'll get the equivalent raise
Yep.
on top of whatever they were making. Our tipped folks like bellmen, doormen, bussers are going up to $15, which is definitely like $2-3, depending on where they were. They're a little staggered around the city.
Yep.
Healthcare stays the same. Our people pay $30 a month for family healthcare coverage,
That's great.
have for
That's
more than
great.
20 years.
That's
so,
awesome. So
that
you're holding the line on healthcare.
holding the line on healthcare,
Yep.
and all of us know how important that is.
That's for sure.
Number one
Yep.
for our members.
Oh,
so.
God, yeah. And what about pension?
Pension, increases to the pension. Oh, and great improvements for room attendants. They have a tremendous workload, and
Yeah.
so great improvements, work reductions, in particular for housekeepers, and the return of daily cleaning.
That's the
for guest rooms.
I
I'm just
think
so happy about
Yeah,
it.
that's a
we
lot.
can all relate to that because you see these things and go to hotels nowadays. It's like, and they phrase it as like, save the environment. Don't have your room cleaned. Like, come on, please. You're trying to save a buck, right? Don't tell me
Right.
this is about the environment because those sheets are getting washed regardless.
I hope so.
Well, yours probably aren't. So I wouldn't clean your room, Ed.
Our room's already clean.
So that's a big deal, and I think it's a
Yeah.
huge deal, right? Daily cleaning, and so, but they have a pension through the union.
Yes.
Okay, so you got $25 an hour plus. You got health care stays the same. You have working condition improvements, and now, oh, by the way, you're back to daily cleaning. I mean, that's a home run, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, there's more in it, but I just got to tell you, those are the key things.
That's an absolute home run.
It was phenomenal.
We stick around because we got to take a quick break, but we want to ask you some more questions if that's okay with you.
Love to.
All right, thank you so much. Listen, we are talking to Karen Kent right now. She's the president of Unite Here, Local 1 in Chicago. We're on the Workers' Mic, 720 WGN. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. We are talking with Karen Kent. Karen, thank you for sticking around with us. Karen is the president of Unite Here, Local 1 right here in Chicago, coming off a massive win that really showed what labor can do and quite frankly, what your union can do. I just think it's really impressive. And I'll tell you right now, the wages and the benefit package that you just rolled out, I don't think people are aware of that. I think people think that, a housekeeper in a hotel makes, 10, 15 bucks an hour and shouldn't be making, lucky to have a job, whatever their nonsense is. Mm-hmm. Good for you for getting them a living wage and pension, right? Laugh all you want at a housekeeper. They're getting a pension,
right?
And the other 94% of this country is not.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So
and you said earlier there were 23 employees, 23 members who work at the Kinzie Hotel, and when they had a problem with a couple of phone calls, you turned out hundreds of people on the street. I mean,
for 20 some odd folks.
That had to make them feel incredible to know that they had that kind of backup.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like it. Yeah. And Sarah and I were saying, we watched the clips of the news clips, and it's like some heavy hitters from the labor movement. I'm like, heavy hitters. We have the heavy hitters.
Got on all the heavy hitters. That's Chicago labor.
Do not say heavy hitter and Bob Ryder in the his head will never fit in the door again. Jesus. Yeah, but no, they're all heavy hitters. But really, at the end of the day, it's labor coming together, right? It's the unions sticking up for each other. It's funny, Karen, you should say it. And I saw you there at the SAG-AFTRA. No, actually, it was the writers' picket, the first one they had in front of NBC. You're there. The building trades are there. Iron workers are there. Electricians, carpenters. It was airline attendants. It was just teachers. Like a plethora of that's Chicago labor.
Yeah,
it's Chicago labor. Calling people, the day before and saying, "Look, I know it's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
I don't have high expectations. I just want you to know what's going on." And everybody who was within 100 miles, like Bill Neeson was like, "I'm there." Greg Kelly is like, "I got bargaining that day. I'm going to be there."
Fantastic.
Anybody who's.
So, in terms of, I'm going to pivot a little bit. You guys had this. I don't even know what you would call it.
It was
public
a public awareness campaign.
Yeah, public awareness campaign.
Hands off, pants on.
Explain that, Karen.
Well, years ago, at one of the casinos, actually, a worker, a cocktail server, who was in a non-union organizing campaign, told one of the organizers about how she had a guest pull her into his lap and ask her to perform certain acts.
Right.
And that sort of launched a whole discussion among our organization about this, and all of us who have worked in the industry have experienced it broadly. When we started talking about it openly, it was just, Sarah Lyons, who you mentioned earlier, led a team of workers that did a study and went and interviewed hundreds of cocktail servers and housekeepers and women in the industry who had experienced sexual harassment. 49% of hotel housekeepers
Unbelievable.
had seen
And do you think that the hotels know this and just turn a blind eye to it?
I mean, certainly yes, but I have to say, to some degree, but I'm embarrassed that as a union leader, I didn't know how widespread it was.
Right.
And I had stories that I never told anybody.
Sure.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
Because it's so embarrassing and you feel.
And so you started this campaign and it took off because I remember reading about it.
Right.
And has it worked?
I mean, it was phenomenal what it did. It really did. I mean, that was right as Trump was getting elected, is starting his campaign. He was talking about what he was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
in contrast to what we were talking about,
right.
labor sort of put their shoulder in to this,
Yep.
helped us pass an ordinance to get panic buttons. That,
That's amazing.
it was amazing. It was amazing. And it wasn't the first time that it happened in the country. Local 6 in New York had done that. But I have to tell you, like, having the conversations, having people talk about it. I mean, housekeepers have told us, so many times. I think just women in the industry, felt so much empowerment, right?
That's
Being
awesome.
able to talk about
And
it.
then this is an example, we've talked about before, that what labor's done isn't just necessarily for, those 23 workers at the Kinzie Hotel. You've now taken an issue and brought it to light in the public, and now it's in the public parlance, in the vernacular of the public, and people think twice about what they're, doing or should or shouldn't be doing when they're at a hotel or a restaurant or a bar or one of these, or a casino, et cetera. And kudos to you for doing that. Like, you literally just raised public awareness.
You took it out of the shadows and
Yeah.
took, what you had said, just embarrassment or shame about it, and just eliminated that. Because I remember when this happened and I saw the name Hands Off, Pants On, and I was like, well, what's that? And I didn't remember the number until you said it, but to see that so many people whose job is to go in and clean a room were being treated in this, appalling way, it opened everyone's eyes. And who would be against steps to remedy that or to protect these workers?
You're absolutely right. And look, you're 9 times out of 10 probably, right, a woman that's going into a room and there's a male or 2 or 3 there. You have to feel fairly vulnerable, right? There's
No,
like,
absolutely.
you don't have it. So
These people need protection,
yeah.
and thank God that they have a union to step up and give it to them.
Well, and think about our hotels that are a city block, right?
no
I
kidding.
mean,
Yeah.
and you're behind closed door. Who's going to hear you?
That's exactly
Who's
right.
going to hear you? But I think those were the stories that Sarah and the team of workers that did it pulled out of, got from people and really,
That's good. That's great.
showed to everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I mean, those jobs are they're important. They're skilled jobs. I mean, they have to be done well. And to that end, it's my understanding that you have a Department of Labor registered apprenticeship program.
How about that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, when did that happen?
2017, we started the contributions. We
Okay.
got the employers to sign on,
Yep.
started the contributions, and, then had our first culinary apprenticeship. Actually, the culinary apprenticeship is the registered DOL apprenticeship. That started, I think, the first cohort in 2020 in the pandemic.
Yep.
And we've had a number of cohorts since. We've been housed at McCormick Place, but we'll be moving into a building with Hire 360 and some of the crew that you may know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So you
we're
have your
excited.
own registered apprentice program. I mean,
Pretty badass, right?
it's absolutely. You think of apprentice, and you literally think of the building trades, right? You don't think of much outside of the building trades. So, and how many apprentice programs are there in your international?
That's a good question. Let me just speak to what I know.
Yeah.
The local 11 in Los Angeles has a corresponding training, hospitality training academy, and they actually, sort of helped us develop the program and they have a registered apprenticeship. So they sort of walked us through, gave
Got
us
it.
their curriculum, the source.
So we're running out of time. But Karen, if somebody is interested in getting into this field, right? This is a way in, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Where would they find more information about it?
Well, definitely on UCHI, we have a Facebook page, Unite Here Chicago Hospitality Institute,
Okay.
but we call it UCHI,
Yep.
In the phonetic. Hire 360 will also link people, and
Is there a phone
our
number? Is there a
website.
phone number?
Is there a phone number? Yeah, we'll get
It's
that
on the
for
website.
It's on the website. What about a phone number for your local?
312-663-4373.
And that's also can be an easy way to get to that program as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you're-
Cheryl
and if-
Morris is our executive director. Fabulous.
Perfect. And if you want to organize your workplace, that's also a good number to call, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And if you're listening out there, I mean, now's the time. Go
Now's
get
the
it.
time.
Right?
Got a lot of organizing drives going on.
I really appreciate your coming down today. I mean,
Congratulations.
seriously, it's got to be a
Bam.
nice job. For those of you that
Was
can't
the
see it,
sound you
that's-
heard was a high five.
That's us. That's us high fiving on the radio. That always translates well to radio.
You gotta say high five while you do it.
High five. All right, listen. We
a
hope to
learning
see you
curve.
soon. You're doing really, really cool things, Karen, and it's really cool to see you here and everything that you're doing. Shout out to your comms director, your
Superstar.
members, all of labor that really coalesced around this thing.
Awesome.
Be nice to see some more wins like this around the SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild. So let's go get them. We will be back right here on 720 WGN, the Workers' Mic. Welcome back, everyone, to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. I am Ken with the Midwest Coalition of Labor. That's Ed. The guy is chuckling next to me.
Well, the guy who just ran in front of the YouTube camera, that's Max.
Way to go, Da Vinci Street Productions. Nothing but the best.
Always.
That was interesting with Karen Kent. I think
She's the best.
Yeah, she's just the best. I like to call her Karen Kick-Ass Kent. Right? I think that's her new name. So
I'm sure she likes that.
We got to crank this out, but I want to see if we can jam this into a short period of time. New York City. They
New
banned,
York City.
Yeah, that's right. It's in New York City. Or actually, New York, the state of New York.
Right.
Banned captive audience meetings.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Captive audience meetings happens after you file for an election for a union. The boss and all their union busters and their high-priced lawyers call you in and say, you don't want to join the union. And they make you sit and listen on work time to an anti-union speech. They'll show you movies like On the Waterfront, just
Unions are bad.
yeah,
Okay.
you don't need a union here. We don't need a third
we're
party.
a family.
Yeah, we are a family.
And you have to sit there because you're on the clock and you have to listen to this
And
stuff.
I have always said that I have a First Amendment right not to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
And if the law provides that I have to listen to you, I think it's unconstitutional. Because otherwise, then, what's to stop them from saying, hey, come on in here. I want to talk to you about politics. I want you to vote for so-and-so because you work and I'm telling you how to vote, which, by the way, probably happens anyway. Anyway, New York banned captive audience meetings. Now, it's the fifth state, Ed, to do it.
I didn't know that. I
yeah.
know we've been calling on it, and I think the NLRB has been indicating
NLB
that
is
they're
trying to
planning
get that
do it.
passed as well. And, of course, there's going to be litigation. And
These things never used to happen. And within like the last couple, maybe 2 years, states are doing this because it's like Congress not getting it done.
That's right.
So states have figured out that they can do things. And it's awesome to see this happening. So hats off.
Hats off is right. Connecticut, Maine, Minnesota, and Oregon. Oregon?
I think Oregon.
I think it's Oregon.
The Oregon Trail.
Yeah. So here's my sort of follow-up question to that, and I'm asking people that are smarter than me. I know we've talked about this in the past, but if a state can ban captive audience meetings, which, by the way, they're not in the NLRA, which is the National Labor Relations Act. There's nowhere in there that says you can have a captive audience meeting. It doesn't say that. It also doesn't say the word interest arbitration, which we have talked about ad nauseum. I'm going to say it again, which is the right to go to arbitration for a first contract. So after you win your union election, which is the easy part, 40% only, probably less, get to a first contract. The other 60% just go away. And you're watching what Starbucks is doing at the moment, right? Delay, union bust,
Right.
union bust. So I guess my question is, if the states can pass a law banning captive audience meetings, why can't they pass a law mandating interest arbitration for first contracts, after a year?
I mean, that's beyond as a non-lawyer, beyond my legal expertise. But yeah, I mean, for private sector employees, it'd be tough at the state level. But there's got to be a way.
Of course there
now
does.
People are trying to figure it out.
And just please, somebody figure this out, because all these things that we're talking about, and like you said, Ed, they're great, right? Banning captive audience
It'd be
meetings.
awesome if we could get bigger through Congress, like a national labor policy, but it's
like
just
the
not
PRO
happening.
Act, right. It's not happening.
So we got to take what we can get.
But these things that are happening, yes, they're definitely good, but they're band-aids, and they don't necessarily get to the ultimate. I think the ultimate conclusion, which is a union contract.
Right.
I always said the organizing part is easy. I hate to say it, but it really is easy.
It's not really, in comparison, it's easy, but
yeah, it's the easier part of being in a union. It's getting in. Getting your first contract is really, really hard. Mm-hmm. So we just need to do that. Second, back to one of our favorite topics is child labor law. And we were talking about this with Professor Bruno last week, and he was talking about that guy's really smart.
Yes, he is. He's
really
a good
smart.
teacher.
I wish I took his class, or I guess I wish I actually got into his school.
He actually has a program starting in a couple weeks.
We should talk about that.
Yeah,
maybe we can get him back on the show, and
right.
we can talk about that. But we talking about child labor law, and we're talking about Iowa, and the Department of Labor issued a letter, and basically it's their ruling that says, sorry, states, including Iowa, you cannot pass laws that are that are less restrictive than the federal regulations. And the federal regulations for child labor are X. I think it's like, age 16 with a work permit, things of that nature. You can't have a 14-year-old working. Sorry, that law is null and void. So, hey, Iowa and all these other states that are passing these, sorry, you lose.
So kids, you can put your cleavers and your chainsaws and your cocktail shakers down and go back to going home and doing your homework.
Put your shorts on and your cleats and go play soccer or something, right?
You get outside and be a kid.
Yeah, stop killing cows and go back to being a kid. So that happened.
I'm going to take a page from your book, Ken,
and
I'm going to say, shame on you, Iowa.
Yeah, God, yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, our other favorite schmuck of a governor is what's his face? The guy from Texas, Greg Abbott.
Oh
God, that guy's just the worst guy in the world. Him and DeSantis are really neck and neck for just being evil people.
They should take a hot air balloon ride together or something.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So he passed, if you remember, we talked about it. We called it the Death Star bill, right?
Well, they called it the Death Star bill.
Yeah, we didn't even call it making up. People call it when you're passing the Death Star bill, it's not good, right?
Yeah.
Nothing good about the Death Star.
Not at all.
Unless you're Darth Vader, and then you love it,
yeah.
right?
I mean,
so, Darth Abbott, is trying to pass this this thing, banning water breaks, and does so. And, it's like, whatever, it's just crazy, and immediately somebody dies, and there's a heat wave down there, and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, that law was deemed unconstitutional in Texas. So once again, you lose. Sorry, you can't just agree, just walk in and go, "Hey, municipality, we're just going to wipe out your laws because we don't agree with them."
Well, and I mean, in a state like Texas, and with a governor like Abbott who claims to be conservative, with a capital C.
Yeah,
I mean, that's about local control.
Yeah.
And this whole Death Star thing is, we want you to have local control from big government unless we disagree with it.
That's
and
right.
if we disagree with water breaks, because water breaks are bad, so they can just step in, and it's anti-American. So it's nice to see that happening. And once again, I mean, we've been railing on these things for months now, and it's a pleasure to see some of them getting rolled back. There is common sense in the country.
Finally, it is nice to see it. And like you said, it's like, it's small government when it's convenient for you. But, when I don't like you or your politics, like DeSantis, wiping out state's attorneys. And I'm not sure if you're watching what's going on in Wisconsin, but they recently seated a new Supreme Court judge that was admittedly liberal.
The most expensive Supreme Court election in American history.
Crazy, right? That much money was spent. And so what's happening right now in Wisconsin? The GOP is planning to impeach this judge.
Who hasn't even been seated yet.
Because they don't like her politics.
Yeah.
And this woman, by the way, won by like 11 points. She destroyed the competition.
Yeah.
And talk about overturning the will of the people. It's so...
If they can get away with it.
Yeah, small government was convenient, big government, and and what does this mean for us in worker parlance? It means that maybe Act 10, right to work and prevailing wage, takeaways in Wisconsin go away, and maybe get back up to the Supreme Court and get a legitimate ruling as opposed to a political ruling. Finally. So why is that important to us? We should all be paying attention to that. What's going on in Wisconsin? Are we out of time?
I have this little cousin named Hadley, and she's 5 or 6 years old, and every time I play a game with her, you can beat her all you want, but the name, it's just like, well, no, no, because I win. So I think, that's what these people
does?
are. Yeah, I mean, you can't, it's
fun. First of all, why are you beating a 5-year-old? Can't you let her win?
I'm better than she is at most games. She's certainly cute.
What are you playing, like wrestling?
Yeah, arm wrestling, bloody knuckles.
Boxing,
Yeah, the Century Club with shots of beer.
beer pong.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this whole thing, like, we lose the election and we're going to impeach you. Why? I mean, she's not in office. She hasn't done anything yet. What are the articles of impeachment even going to say? We don't like you. You have the wrong letter behind your name. We don't like to lose. We win, so we're doing this because we can't lose.
Where does it end, right? And now I don't like you because you're a woman. Now I don't like you because you're a person of color. Now I don't like you because you're union stance. Now I don't like you because, whatever the case may be. It really is a crazy, insane, slippery slope. It has to end.
Yeah.
And once again, feds, step in, do something, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when one president was impeached, think back 10 years, and impeaching a president was a very big deal.
Yeah.
And then it happened twice.
Right.
And now it's just like, well, you're going to impeach our guy. We're going to impeach your people. I mean, they're talking about impeaching Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is not elected to anything.
I'm going to impeach you.
Go for it. I'll impeach you.
I'll teach you a lesson.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, that went off the rails.
All right, listen. It's been a great show. We're looking forward to next week. We had a good show for you next week as well. And you've been listening to The Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. See you next week.